Welcome to Journey On. I'm DJ Burr, the host and executive producer. I'm a licensed psychotherapist, behavioral addiction specialist, and best-selling author of I Just Wanted Love, Recovery of a Codependent Sex and Love Addict, available on Amazon, Audible, and iTunes. This podcast is for male survivors of sexual abuse and assault who want to experience a life worth living beyond a tragic past. I'm a survivor just like you, and I know the complexity of healing from trauma. I also know the joy that comes from the healing process. Hear our stories and share your own. You are not alone. You too can breathe deep and journey on. I encourage you to visit the Journey On website, www.journeynonpod.com. There you will find a link to sign up for my Recovery Journey newsletter, learn about my weekend recovery events for male survivors, and my online recovery coaching services for male survivors. If you have questions, concerns, or comments, or would like to be on the show, email me at journeynonpodcast@gmail.com. Journey On is on social media. Tweet us at JourneyOnPod. Find us on Instagram and Facebook at Journey On Podcast. The month of April is National Sexual Assault Awareness Month, sponsored by the National Sexual Violence Resource Center. This year, the SAM campaign is engaging new voices. The focus will be on involving coaches, faith leaders, parents, Greek life, and bystanders by preventing sexual assault. Many groups know about sexual assault and believe it is a problem, but they don't know how they can help. With this year's toolkit and postcards, the NSVRC hopes to help these new voices begin to talk about preventing sexual assault. You can download the toolkits and postcards, as well as other supporter tools at www.nsvrc.org/SAAM/get-involved. Look out for our social media posts this month using the hashtag SAM, that's SAAM, and the hashtag Journey On as we celebrate National Sexual Assault Awareness Month. I'll be looking for your posts with the same hashtags as well, and you never know, I might reach out to you and want to hear your story. Hello, and welcome to Journey On, the podcast for male survivors of sexual abuse and assault. Today I am speaking with Gino, and Gino is here today to talk about his story of experience, strength, and hope. Gino, welcome to the show.
Hi, DJ. As you know, my name is Gino. I'm 50. I'm from New York. And my story is that I was the middle of three boys, and when I was 5, my mother died. And my father was not too involved. He was off self-medicating himself with alcohol. So then my grandparents moved in to take care of us. And most weekends, we were sent to stay with my aunt who lived in town, who was only a couple blocks away. So we were there a lot. And my father remarried within a year after my mother dying. And that marriage lasted 18 months. He started drinking again, staying out, and she left. So then we ended up having to spend a lot more time at my aunt's house. And she was married to a drunk. And this guy was, as I would recall, was weak-minded. She wore the pants in the family, and I guess there was reasons why he did what he did, but he ended up molesting me after grooming me for was probably a good year. You know, I didn't know any better what was going on, but I fell for the attention, you know, that was basically just hugs and, you know, and sitting on his lap and just, you know, whenever he was around me, he was always made sure he was close. And I guess, you know, being a little kid who experienced so much loss, you know, I ate up any kind of attention like that. So, and then it came to one day, I'm now about 8 years old. And for some reason, we were left alone, me with him, in their house, and he raped me. He took it, you know, that much further, and you know, that's what happened. And unfortunately, it went on for a good 2 years. I mean, I tried to hide from him my reason that, you know, I had to keep it a secret, and it was, you know, my own shame, and I was guilty because of it, you know, and then by the time I was 11, puberty started to kick in. And then it was me that actually went there looking for it, you know, and that really played a number in my head. for years after that, here I am. I was by then highly sexualized at 11. And I was, turned on, and I, had all these kind of wacky, things going on in my head, and I was out of control. And by the time I was 12, a kid down the street who was, not a friend, he was kind of socially inept and kind of an oddball, but, I hung out with him a couple of times, and we ended up having sex at 12. And it went on for years. I just used him, like my uncle used me.
That's heartbreaking.
And at that time, once I had this friend, in quotes, friend, I stopped going over my uncles. And this went on for years.
And so what are your thoughts about that? Like, in terms of why you stopped going to your uncles and started now going to your friends more often?
No, because now it was, readily available. It wasn't with somebody, older and drunk. It was somebody that I would be in control of, not, because that's what was robbed from me as a kid.
The control.
Was control. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. It was my way to try to regain, masculinity or dominance or something, because let me tell you, that really messed with my head. I felt like less than even as a boy, I felt less than a man. I mean, I wasn't what a boy should have been.
Did you know when your uncle started molesting you that it wasn't right?
Instantly. It was just instinctive. I mean, the pain, mm-hmm. the pain and the instant shame. It was, that first time it was, 0 to 60 in 3 seconds flat. That's how it went. So, and I knew, I knew right then and there. This was, I didn't even know what sex was.
Right.
But I knew this was wrong.
And did he say? Did he say anything to you to threaten you, or to convince you?
No, there was no threats. No threats. I think when he was done, he might have said something like "I love you," and kept hugging me just to pacify me. Yeah. That was it. Because I probably I don't remember if I zoned out or whatever, or I was crying at the time, even when he was doing but yeah, I was not in any kind of good shape. He kind of, halfway cleaned me up, and I left the house. Began my walk home, crying and trying to, think what the, get my sense. And then I had a reason in my eight-year-old mind that, I'm going to have to keep this a secret. I can't tell anybody. If my father found out, he would kill him. And then what? Then we'd have nobody,
Right.
So I thought I would just keep it a secret and then somehow just have to stay away from him. But every other weekend, it seemed that we had to stay over there. So I would, try to hide myself underneath the pull-out sofa. I would barricade myself with the pillows because my cousin and my little brother was sleeping above where I was sleeping on the floor. And I'd be awoken in, the middle of the night because he would get home probably at midnight from work. And I'd be awoken with him molesting me. And, I pretended I was asleep during the whole thing. That's how that went.
Oh my God! And your aunt was in the home as well?
Oh yeah, yep.
Where was she? Do you know?
Sleeping in her room. Yeah, she was sleeping in her room. Because he would work nights. He worked in a restaurant, so he would come home probably at midnight, 1 in the morning, and everybody else was asleep. It happened in the day too when she was working, because she worked a regular job. And he was the daytime caretaker for his kids and us. Yeah, he didn't go in probably till 4 or 5 o'clock, working in a restaurant.
Do you recall what you were thinking during these times when, he was coming home, or during the afternoons while your aunt was at work and he was there watching you? Did you have any thoughts? Can you recall any thoughts that you had during that time?
It's like there's 2 times. It was before I was turned on and I was scared and I was, trying to keep hidden and under the radar and all that. And then there was after, where I don't know when that switch happened, but it happened, around puberty, where all of a sudden, I went there looking for it. I knew on a Saturday late morning that he would be alone in the house with like two cousins would be out, and I would just go there.
And you would approach him
for that. Yeah, I would go there, and he would open the door and grab a hold of me, and that was that.
Oh my God, that must have been such a confusing time for you.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm 11 years old, and all this stuff is going on in my head, and I'm, and I felt like, even though I had this drive to do that, I once the second it was over, I mean, I felt like trash. That shame came right back and slapped me in the face.
How did you...
And then when I would go on and do it with this kid, I mean, it'd be the same thing. I'd be so worked up and so driven to do this. And the second it was over, it'd be like, I can't believe I just did this again. And this kid would just leave. I mean, that's all it was about. Even for him, he just, showed up and we did it, and he would leave, and I'd be like, oh my God, I can't believe I did this again.
Was there a time where you questioned your sexuality or sexual orientation as a result of the abuse?
The funny thing, you asked that. No. A lot of people don't understand this.
That's an experience of a lot of people.
No, because, I'm in New York. I grew up with two gay uncles. Actually, the one died before I was born. But my other one, he was gay. And I didn't even know what gay was when I was told. My older brother says, oh, did you know Uncle so-and-so was gay? And I didn't know what that meant. And he said, oh, because he likes men. And his friend, let's say, call him Bobby, that's his boyfriend. That's not, just his friend. I'm like, oh, I didn't know. And of course, what do? I go tell my stepmother, because now I'm a little kid with some news, right? I go, Uncle so-and-so is gay? She dropped, her jaw dropped, and said, where did you hear that from?
Oh, my.
But anyway, and so the cat was out of the bag. But everybody accepted my uncle, and everybody accepted this guy, Bobby. I thought of him as my uncle, my Uncle Bobby. So there was nothing like, nobody's whispering, nobody was saying anything, But I knew that wasn't what I wanted. I came from such a dysfunctional family, and I realized that even as a little kid. I knew what I was living was different than from everybody else in school was living. One thing I wanted with all my heart was to be rescued by my mother's family. That never happened. But I wanted my own family, to be, married and have my own kids and all that. So I knew, even as a young kid, that I wasn't going to get that. That wasn't, so that was never my idea, So I knew what I wanted. I knew what I had to be. What I did with this kid, who was not really a friend, but I was acting out with him. And what I did subsequently with other men once I was, growing up and, as an adult, it was never about loving or honoring or cherishing. It was just dirty. It was secretive. It was solely about me dominating and trying to build my broken masculinity on the backs and on the souls of these other poor guys. It was nothing, about love, that type of thing.
Can you recall when you first thought about doing something different and not engaging in this type of acting out behavior? What was that like for you?
Here I am, 11 years old. My father got into AA, and he got saved, and he started going to church, and he started dragging us to church. So here I am, 11, 12 years old, sitting in these pews on Sunday morning. I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? All this stuff is going on in my head, So I knew I needed to change and stop what I was doing. But still this drive was, I would lose control. I didn't have control of it. It had control of me.
Yeah. Would you say it was an addiction?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would think it would, sexualizing a kid before their mind is able to handle it, it's probably akin to giving them crack.
Absolutely.
I would think.
It is.
You can't handle it. You can't comprehend it. You can't comprehend. It's not just that one time. It's going to be the chain of events that follow all this. I didn't bargain for all the stuff that went on,
No. But what happened was, it sounds like you suffered a trauma, and born out of that trauma became an addiction. You had to have more, and it began to control you.
Absolutely. I needed my fix.
Yeah.
That's what it was. I needed my fix. And when I got it, I was disgusted.
Sounds like a lot of shame.
Yeah. Shame, guilt, the broken masculinity, all that.
Mm-hmm. And when did things end with the friend?
It was after I got married, and we moved away.
After you got married?
Yep. So I was still doing it after I got married. Yeah.
Well, so that means it went on for several years.
Oh yeah, it went on from 12 to probably 24 with him.
And are you still in contact with this person?
I wasn't for a long time, and I felt guilt throughout the years, especially after I really started dealing with my own stuff. I'm like, well, what did I do? Did I abuse him?
Mm-hmm.
I was a kid. We were the same age, but obviously, if I wasn't in that picture, this would have never happened to him. So I was highly sensitive to that,
Sure.
So I contacted him. Of course, he didn't want to hear from me the first time, even the second time. And then finally I sent him a letter, and he called back. He was in a better place, and he's like, no, he said that, he was a willing partner and all that. But
mm-hmm. Did he not want to talk to you because you had moved away?
No,
Okay.
I'm sure it was because of all the stuff we did. He was probably thinking I was looking, to reestablish that.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking,
And you were looking to heal.
Yeah. I was looking to, hope to find out if he's okay, to apologize basically to him. That's what I did. I apologized for involving him in all this stuff throughout the years, because I'm sure it must have changed the course of his life.
I'm sure. Yeah.
And it turns out, we've had some serious long conversations since that, he was living in hell that I didn't know from his parents. His mother was bipolar and, created. No wonder this kid latched on to anybody that paid him any kind of attention, like me.
Sure.
I did the same with my uncle.
Yeah, that's so unfortunate that a friendship was formed out of your individual's trauma. And this sounds like the two of you, in a way, took care of one another. But it was ultimately fueled by all the things that were going on outside of your control.
Yeah.
So was there a time when...
we're taking...
Go ahead.
I said we're taking care of each other now in the last 2 years, where we've had some serious conversations about, life in general and all the stuff that, we've been through.
That's great.
Before that, as kids and all that, before that, it wasn't about healing or friendship. It was serious. It was just about, getting whatever each other needed, and that was that. Because apparently he needed whatever he was getting,
Right.
As crappy as that was,
Mm-hmm. Was there a time where you told someone about your uncle?
Not till after I was 31.
Okay, so let's talk about you getting married and moving away, and how the abuse and the sexual acting out behaviors impacted your adult life.
Yeah. Well, for one, I mean, yeah, I was a clam. I didn't say two words to anybody. My wife, my wife loved me from childhood. I mean, we were neighbors pretty much, you know, and she was the only one I could trust. So I married her. I liked girls growing up, but I knew that girls were sugar and spice and everything nice, and us boys were the filthiest of animals. So I never really approached to any of them. You know, I was locked in a shell. Shame. I mean, I felt even today, I don't like wearing any kind of shirt with any kind of writing or pictures on it because I don't want the attention. I don't want people looking at me. So as a kid, I mean, I just blended into the wallpaper. Even as an adult, I'm fighting that, you know, that hiding in plain sight. I've done that for all my life, just so I'm not noticed, because I felt that if people looked at me, they would see the shame on me. And that's a hard habit to break.
Yeah, that's powerful imagery. And you're saying that you still deal with that to this day.
Oh, yeah. I've come a long way in healing, but there's still scars. Absolutely, there's still scars.
Yeah.
I mean, I should have did a lot more. I mean, I hated school right from the start. I hated school because I didn't fit in. The other kids mirrored everything that I wasn't. So I just tuned out. I took up space. I tuned out. And, I didn't even graduate.
You didn't graduate from high school?
I just left. Nope, I just left.
Okay. Where did you go?
So where did I go? I was working.
Okay, so you left school and got involved in the workforce.
Yeah, I was, working. I went to, blue-collar jobs. That's all it was. I mean, thank God I'm doing okay, but I should have been doing a lot more. I should have been a lawyer. I should have been a lot of things. And when that all hit me, once all the denial fell when I was 31, I mean, I went through the however many layers of grieving and anger and all that stuff, and I realized how this all affected me. All the little thoughts and decisions I made from childhood all the way up to adult was tainted by the abuse. I made this decision because of what happened. I made this decision because of this, and and it was all interconnected. I could look back throughout my whole life and pinpoint it all the way back to why I made which decision, and it all stemmed back from the abuse, shame, guilt, and hiding, and all that.
And was there a point where you informed your wife of what had happened to you?
Yeah, when I was 31.
When you were 31?
I told her, and I was 31. And I told her, and this was after I spent a couple of months online on, support groups and stuff online. That's what I did. And this is how I got a handle and learned of everything that happened to me and kind of started the processing. And I finally told her, I said, listen, I got to tell you something, And I told her. And she says, I'm glad you told me this because I'm surprised I'm still here. I was planning to leave you.
Oh, my.
Because I had built up. Yeah, and here, talk about ignorance is bliss. I was so wrapped up in myself. I didn't see it coming. I always figured she would get over my wall. She always said, oh, you got these walls built up. You have these walls built up. And I said, you'll get over it. And she did. She got over it. She was ready to leave. She got over me and my walls. And that was a surprise. I didn't see that coming. But things changed,
How so?
Right away, immediately. She felt that, I let her in and all that. So that was good.
Great. I'm glad to hear that. Sometimes it can be really hard for a spouse to hear such information. Can you talk about any particular way that you told her? Did you plan it out? Did you plan what to say and how to say it? What was helpful?
Oh yeah, I am not a talker.
Okay.
I am not a talker at all. I mean, I'm surprised I'm talking to you now. But sometimes you just got to get this stuff out.
Yes.
And it's better to talk about it, But yeah, I planned it for a long time, and half of it probably came out wrong. And what I normally do, even today, if there's an issue, I'll write it out. It may take me hours to write out a page, and I would sooner give that to her, and she'd be like, "Oh, okay." That's how it's better for me, because I've been a clam all my life, and that's hard to change.
Mm-hmm. But you've been a clam because of partly because of the abuse that happened to you.
Yeah, not partly, because of it.
Because of it. Okay.
Yeah, it stole my voice.
Man.
It robbed me of so much.
So you mentioned that you found online support. Can you talk to our listeners about what that looked like and how you found it and where you found it and what you've gotten from it?
Okay, well, here's the story of how the denial came down and how I first realized that what happened was abuse. This was 1999, sorry, 1999. And I had web TV. This is before, computers entered my world. We got a web TV unit. And I was trolling for porn and erotic stories. That's what I was doing. And all of a sudden, I started reading the story, and it sounded exactly like mine. I'm like, I was reading an abuse survivor's personal story. I'm like, oh my God, this was me. And I felt everything he felt, and I'm like, I couldn't believe it. And that's what opened my eyes to what happened and how it affected me, and that I was in denial, because I never forgot the abuse. But for some reason, I convinced myself that it was just something that happens, and it didn't mean anything, And it turns out it meant a whole lot, and it's not something that should happen, But it happens all too often, unfortunately. They say 1 out of 6. I believe it's probably more than that.
Yeah, probably so.
I mean, boys generally don't tell. There's too much shame and, all that wrapped up in it.
So you're reading this story that sounds very similar to yours, and what did you do with that?
I cried.
Good.
I cried.
You were able to relate.
I actually relate, yeah. I was looking back at a mirror.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't believe it. And then I just started reading more, and then how the internet just starts to tumble, and one thing's opens up to the next. And,
right.
And I found more abuse survivors and stuff. I'm like, wow. And and I found this one woman's website, and started emailing her back and forth, and chit chatting, and it was very rudimentary, little chat area and discussion forum, and that's where I started healing. And that then I found another one that was all male. That's no longer. It's been gone for many years. But when I told my wife, I told her about the websites and stuff, and of course she was, not thrilled that I couldn't, go to her with all this. That I had to use some other woman's website and talk to her. So that wasn't, that wasn't received, 100% with happiness. But she was happy nonetheless that it got me out of my shell.
And when you found
and made me the husband that I should be.
Well, that's good. I'm glad that she was able to come to understand why you were, seeking this type of support online.
Yeah.
And then you found the group for men. Was it a discussion forum?
Yeah, it was a discussion forum.
Can you talk a little bit about how that was set up and maybe what that looked like?
It was basically just for men, and you can post your stories, or you can just join the open discussions, and it was very enlightening, especially being other men, because the first one was mostly women. There was only a couple of guys, and I was one of them. So it helped, but it wasn't the same as having reading what other men went through, and how we all were so much were affected the same way.
Yeah. Did you
There's so many similarities.
Did you connect with the men on this site and build a relationship with them individually?
No, not really, because it went on for a couple of years. So I felt connected, but these are people across the country that you'll never meet. But I have to say, I did meet one of them one time. The one guy was getting married and asked anybody if they wanted to come, and I just happened to be traveling through that area at that time. So I said, you know what, I'll go, and so I went. And I met him.
Wow.
And his wife. Yeah, it was actually very cool. It was really nice. That was the last time I ever seen him.
Yeah.
That was back in probably 2000.
But that's a kind gesture.
And that website. Yeah, for both of us. Yeah, it was great.
And you were going to say something about that website. Is it still operational?
No, that didn't last long because of not everybody is as even keeled as everybody else. Some people are, the guy that ran it, he had some other problems as well, so he couldn't deal with the pressure, and he decided to disband it. But just as he disbanded it, Male Survivor started, and that site is professionally run, and that's been going for many years, and I've been a part of that as well.
And that's malesurvivor.org?
Yeah.
Okay. And so can you talk about the resources on that site that you find helpful?
Just a discussion forum. That's all I deal with.
Okay. All right. So that's an active discussion forum that listeners can go to today and share their stories or ask for support. That's an amazing resource.
It is. It's an amazing resource. They have other things, but I didn't need them.
Okay. But they do. I've been on their website. It's a really good website. It's robust. It has tons of information, statistics, support links. They have the message boards or discussion groups, book resources. I think there's also like movie resources. So it's
I think so. And there's even an active chat, which is good if you're into that type of thing. I can't, can't be bothered with chatting and texting. It's too much like texting.
Okay. So you found support online, whereas I think some people are able to find support in the community with a therapist or a support group, a face-to-face support group. Were those avenues that you explored?
I never explored a therapist, only because I'm out in the sticks. I say New York, but I'm in the sticks in New York, so there's really nobody around.
Okay.
But I was able to find a face-to-face support group that wasn't necessarily about abuse, but it turned out that most of the people there were sexually abused, and it was a mixed group, men and female. So that was a lot of the conversation, and that was good. It was good for everybody involved. Again, I was probably one of only 2 or 3 men out of maybe a group of 10 or 8 or 11. So
sure, but you were able to connect with the people in that group and get support
face
to face. How long were you a part of that group?
Yep. It was probably just less than 2 years.
Okay. Are you actively involved in any other face-to-face groups now?
No. I was actually, hoping to start one.
Oh, okay. That'd be exciting.
And I actually put it, put a few things online and never heard anything yet. So.
Yeah, sometimes it takes a while to get the word out, but I hope that people will find you, and so you can create that group and help others, right?
I mean, yeah, because you know the need is out there, but so many men are suffering in silence.
They are.
They never say anything, or if they say something, they say it, and they just want it back in the bottle, and try to pretend that we can go back to denial and that everything's fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, how does the abuse continue to affect you today?
Well, I gotta make it a point to put myself out there. If I have to do something, work-wise, business-wise, and it takes, if I have to get up in front of people, I really have to psych myself out. To get up there to do that, to have eyes on me.
Yeah, yeah. Because they'll know you, and they might sense that shame that you talked about earlier. Is that why?
Yeah, yeah. It's still, I mean, even though I don't, maybe I still do carry a little bit of that shame, but it's not like it was. But it's just been, I'm just about 50 years old. I mean, it's been with me a long time. It's a part of me.
Yeah. But I think I can understand what you're talking about, just maybe carrying it a little bit. As a survivor myself, and it's been maybe 16 or 17 years ago, I still have that shame that kind of creeps up every now and then. And I'm not sure if that ever goes away, but it does decrease.
Yeah, it decreases. I mean, I'll tell you what's going on. I've told a few close friends. I've told family members. I wouldn't want it out in general public.
Right.
I wouldn't plaster them. I wouldn't become the poster boy for it. I don't want my kids to know.
So there's still a lot of people who maybe don't know all of you. Would you say that's accurate?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
How is that for you today?
I'm like an onion.
How's that for you today, still holding on to several pieces of yourself?
That's the way I like it.
That's the way you like it?
I'm an extremely private person.
Okay.
And it's because of that.
Yeah. And see, I've had the opposite effect. Once I was able to start telling my story, I didn't want to stop telling my story. I've written a book. I've written articles. I've stood up in front of people and talked about it. And now I've created this podcast. For me, it's really important to who I am, my own identity, to keep talking about it. Because I hid it for so long as a kid, and because I hid it, a lot of bad things continue to happen. And it's just super important for me to talk. And I'm grateful that you have made yourself available to talk today to us about your story. I mean, it's a heartbreaking story, but I can sense like a lot of compassion that you have for yourself and to other sufferers, because you still want to give back. You still want to help people, right?
Oh yeah, if I can, make a bright spot out of this, I'd want that.
Absolutely.
I'd rather not keep it secret and and have other people suffer forever. Like I had. Get it out there. It's great that so much has come out of this wickedness with like Penn State and stuff. It was in the news.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people showed up at Male Survivor because of that. They were triggered because of it.
Yeah.
They were doing fine, in denial. Then all of a sudden, all this stuff being in the news just brought it to the forefront of their minds, and that's when they looked for help and they found it.
Right.
So I'd rather be there for those people that need it. So I kind of still and pop in and check in a Male Survivor once in a while.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
And like I said, I would like to try to start a face-to-face support, peer support group, around by me here. But like I said, I'm out in the country.
Right, but
there's not as many people. They're out there, but they're hidden. Yeah.
Right, they're out there. I'm thinking of doing the same thing. I'm out in Seattle, and I'm thinking about doing a peer support group as well. And I think there are a lot of people out here who could benefit from that.
Yeah.
So, what's life like for you now?
Pretty good. I have the family I always wanted. I have my kids, I have my wife, I have my home. I didn't finish high school, but I did a lot of other things. I had my own businesses. Some were successful, some weren't.
Yeah.
But I lead a comfortable life, and it's not in control of me anymore.
That's wonderful. How many kids do you have, if you don't mind me asking?
3.
3. Beautiful. Good.
Yeah.
I'm really glad to hear that things are going well for you. And that's what I'm hearing from most of the people I've worked with on the podcast, is that they've continued on their lives. They've been building their life that they've always wanted. And that's important.
Yeah.
The message is on this podcast, it's the journey on. Right? Hear
Yeah.
our stories.
It does get better.
Yeah, it does get better. I love that. It does get better. And so I want to continue to encourage people to tell someone, share your story, ask for help, because we don't have to do this alone. And we can
you don't, and you can do it. You can do it anonymously online. That's the beauty part of it, And when you're ready to come out to your family and friends or whoever, then you can do it when you're ready. But you can still get the help you need right now.
Yeah. And that's why it was important for me to talk to you, because other people have been able to reach out face to face and get support, but there's a huge online community. And so I'm grateful that you have some firsthand knowledge about the online community, and the resources are there.
Yes.
Well, Gino, anything that you would like to leave our listeners with, any sage advice or words of wisdom?
Just don't keep it in. You got to get it out. You got to work through it. And it's not a quick fix. It took me a good year and a half before I was okay. It may take some longer, it may take some shorter.
Yeah.
But you can get there.
But you can get there. That's right.
Yep.
Well, thank you, sir, for taking out time in your Friday afternoon to speak with me and to share your story. It has been an amazing time for me to sit here and listen to your story. It's inspiring.
Well, thanks. You're certainly welcome, anytime.
Yeah, thank you. All right, sir. Well, the episode will probably be out in April. And
okay.
I'll give you a heads up when your episode is going to air if you want to listen to it. And hopefully you'll listen to the podcast.
Yeah, definitely.
Hopefully you'll listen to the podcast starting in March. It's on iTunes and Google Play and some other places. So,
great.
Yeah, I'm really grateful. So thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
You're welcome. You're welcome, DJ.
All right. Have a good rest of your day.
You too. Take care.
All right. Bye.